What up, infidels? You're like, damn, it's a Tuesday. Well, I told you I was changing up my format and just was like, I'm going to make videos as they come to me, as I think of them. You know, that way I can just work on one topic, one joke at a time, or I have this idea for you today that I think you'll enjoy. Sorry for burping. If you enjoy basketball. Today I'm going to do my top 5 playoff sort of moments of the 2002 NBA playoffs. That's all we're going to do. So yeah, these are my top 5 moments of the 2022 NBA playoffs. And we'll start with the honorable mentions. That's where we'll start. I got 2 honorable mentions. The first one being the Nets getting swept. They were the only team to get swept in these playoffs. We just, was pretty, I think, sweet for all the non-net fans to watch that sort of happen. KD and Kyrie just sort of have this implosion. And I put this in my honorable mention. It could have been a top 5, but there was a lot of KD sort of legacy talk, and that was permeating through the whole thing. I mean, the Warriors kept talking about it. Draymond kept bringing KD's name up. You know what I mean? There was a lot of KD talk, so I didn't want to. I wanted to have this at the beginning to get it out of the way. I didn't want to talk about KD anything at all past this, because there are a lot of. I mean, it's gonna come up when I talk about the Warriors winning. That's obviously gonna be on my list. But yeah, the Nets getting swept was pretty awesome. That first game was one of the best games of the playoffs, that where Ramadan, Kyrie kept hitting shots. KD was pretty disappointing for the whole series, and Kyrie, I think after game 1 was disappointing. It at times felt like for the Nets, Blake Griffin was the best player on the court for small amounts of time, which is not in a great position to be in the playoffs. At the end of the day, Brooklyn played every bit of the 7 seed. They were a 7 seed and they played like it in the playoffs, and that's why they got swept. But that first game was unreal. Tatum making that spinning shot as the clock went out. It was going to be like, damn, this series is going to go 7. That's what it felt like at the moment, and it just didn't happen like that at all. Boston was pretty dominant for that series. I mean, they were hard-fought games, but they won them. So that's honorable mention. And my second honorable mention is the Boston-Milwaukee series. That was a great series. I would say that this was a quality title defense from the Bucks. If Middleton doesn't get injured, Middleton stays healthy, the Bucks might be having the parade today instead of the Warriors. That was a solid title defense. They were just a player short, and Middleton, and they just ended up having the most impactful injury in the playoffs. It always happens to some team during the playoffs. It's unavoidable. Injuries in the playoffs are unavoidable, and unfortunately, Milwaukee caught that bug. But it was a great series. Tatum scoring 46, or like, was it 46? 40 something in that game 6 to send it to 7 was a great playoff moment for him. That I think when we talk about Tatum later, when we go over my top 5 moments, it really that performance is really going to be overshadowed by his just bad finals performance. All right. So now that we got the honorable mention out of the way, let's do the top 5 moments of the 2022 NBA playoffs. At number 5, and this might be surprising, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. I thought everything around them was interesting. Pat Beverly coming in, making the team, changing the culture, getting them into the play-in, winning the play-in, and then celebrating like they just won their 3rd title in a row I love that. I love that. I know people were like, "Oh, I can't believe this is just the play and they're overdoing it." Yeah, they were overdoing it, sure, but bro, they didn't even think they're gonna make the playoffs. So I don't even think they were like, there was no hope of them making the play-ins at the beginning of the season. That's what it felt like. And then they really made that trade and they got someone to energize their team. And then afterwards, Pat Beverly going on that just scorched earth media performance against Chris Paul. That was unreal. I'll count that as part of Minnesota's thing. That's in the Minnesota world of the playoffs. His legendary media performance from him when he was just shitting on Chris Paul. Man, I stay out when I gotta guard Chris Paul the next day. Steph Curry, I'm going to bed at 8 p.m. Legendary stuff. That was great. How stupid they played against Memphis. They lost 2 20-point leads in a single game. They had 2 separate 20-point leads in the game, and they lost them both. Unbelievable. And then another game, they lost another 20-point lead. I thought they should have won that series if they played a little bit smarter. Or just an inkling smarter. They really had Memphis's number, I felt, when they were playing well, and they just couldn't consistently do it. Losing those huge leads was great. And also losing those huge leads was just a real reminder now, because there was a lot of complaints that the games weren't close this playoffs, a lot of blowouts, and there were. But just teams score at a higher rate now. Like this playoffs was a good reminder, like, yo, back in like 2015, 2016, the only team that can consistently overcome 20-point leads was the Golden State Warriors. Now, if you want to be a top-level playoff team, you have to be able to erase 20-point leads. All the top-level teams do it, and that's what this series, the Minnesota Grizzlies series, really showed. Was a real reminder of just like, yo, the top-level teams, like the Grizzlies, that's a top-level West team, can erase 2 20-point leads in a game. Ain't nothing safe. You got to play the whole game. But what really puts Minnesota over the top for me is that in 3 separate games, they had 3 separate protesters. Or at least 2. The first one might not have been in Minnesota, but they had at least 2 where their protesters would run on the court, glue themselves to the court, chain themselves to the post, or one of them got tackled by security trying to make it onto the court. That was an amazing video. Like, that was just, Minnesota was just, and then, Karl Anthony Towns, what is he mentally? That was a storyline. Like, they were, when they were in the playoffs, I felt like they were entertaining, and they offered storylines and narratives, and there was a little bit of, can they upset these Grizzlies? Can they upset these Grizzlies? There was a part of that, and that made them just intriguing, and I like that. And that was looking back on it, that was a very fun time of the playoffs. Like, what's going on with Minnesota? That was a very fun time of the playoffs. I very much did enjoy that. So I have Minnesota number 5. My number 4 playoff moments of this year is the Tatum-Kobe stuff. To me, the Tatum-Kobe stuff was a huge narrative that it really showed that, Tatum is not in the moment. Tatum is not in the moment. Look, so when he came out in Game 7 with the Kobe armband, bro, I love that. That was hard. I enjoyed that. But then afterwards, after they won, to show the text that he texted Kobe, I got you with the thing, I was like, okay, this is a little corny now. We're heading into corny territory. That's supposed to be I'm really, like, a text message between you and a dead person is a very private thing. So to show it in some attempt to be like, this is me now, is, you're just not in the moment. I think Tatum, it felt like was worried about legacy stuff going into the finals, not only showing the texting Kobe thing, the dressing like Kobe for the one practice, to changing his Instagram picture to him and Kobe doing the same pose. Like, Tatum was worried about legacy stuff when it really wasn't about legacy stuff for him. He has to win. You have to start the legacy. For Steph, this was a legacy finals. For Tatum, this was a start your legacy finals. No one's going to call you Kobe yet. You got to get there. And I just feel like he was just there. And I think, and you saw it in the finals, Tatum was outmatched mentally. Couldn't finish at the rim. Searching for contact. Something like 17 for 61 for 2 or some crazy stat like that. Like, Tatum just was not there. And, he was just that, and the Kobe stuff. And now, I mean, all the memes. Like, this is something now Tatum is going to have to, like, he is going to be clowned for this, and rightfully so, for a while. So now Tatum has to now overcome this. Can he overcome this, or will he be broken? Time will tell, because sometimes losing a championship makes you take it to the next level, and sometimes losing a championship breaks you. Sometimes it breaks you. So we'll see. I like, just after saying all that, I will say I do. I'm kind of whatever about Tatum. I didn't like the Kobe stuff. My favorite Celtics player, and I found it easy to hate all the Celtics players, especially while playing against them. But my favorite Celtics player was Robert Williams. I thought he was unreal. The paint was just not a place we could score when Robert Williams was in. He was by far their best player. I didn't watch a lot of Celtics basketball during the year, but I find it hard to believe that Marcus Smart was a better defender than Robert Williams. Especially when this was Robert Williams on one leg. And like, I really do like him. As a Warriors fan, he was my favorite Celtic. I hope that there's no further damage on his knee. Like, he didn't damage it further by playing on an injured knee, because I think he is a special player, and it'll be fun to watch him in the years come. So I'm hoping him full health, of course. And he was a menace on one leg. He showed up in the finals when he was injured. I call him the anti-Chris Paul. So yeah, the Tatum Kobe stuff is number 4. Number 3, it's gotta be Jimmy Buckets, the shot at the end of Game 7. That's my number 3 moment of the playoffs. Some might put it higher, but I think you guys will like my number 2. But that was a moment. There's been a lot of going back and forth whether or not he should have shot it. I felt so at the day of, I was very anti that shot. I thought it was a bad shot, mainly because earlier that game in the third, when the third ended, the Heat had brought the game back within 1. It was like 83-82 or something like that. Probably a little lower because it's an Eastern Conference game. But they were there. They were down by 1, and instead of continuing to shoot twos, which is how Miami clawed back, they started chucking up threes. Right? So that's why when it came time to the end of the game, they're down 2. They're going on this incredible run in the fourth to get the game close. I was hoping they would keep shooting for 2, because that's what got them back there, besides that Strus miracle 3. But that's what got them back there. And then they shot a 3 and he missed it, which I thought that's what would happen. But looking back on it, I don't think it's that bad of a shot now, like with perspective. You have Jimmy Butler, which is at that point the team's only scoring option. He is gassed. He's pretty much playing the whole game. If he makes the shot, he caps off one of the most incredible runs and one of the biggest collapses in Eastern Conference Finals history, if not playoff history. And if he ties the game and they go into overtime, how much gas does he have left? Usually on these sort of historic runs, overtime is where the gas runs out on these like one-player carry jobs. LeBron 2018, when J.R. Smith doesn't go back up with the ball and runs out the clock, they were gassed at overtime. Kevin Durant last year, toe on the line, wasn't a 3, it was a long 2. They were gassed in overtime. That was everything. So Jimmy, I get it. You got to end it there. If you hit it, it would have been great. I do think you would have scored if you got up 2, but that's if you gone for the 2, but that's also not the case. That's also not the case, because if you went for 2 and missed it, the narrative would be, why did he shoot the shot? They were hot. So, I think it was one of those things where there was no wrong answer for Jimmy. It was, were you able to execute, and were you not? And he was not. And not to give that, not to say that as a slight against Jimmy, because that's just what happened. He wasn't able to hit the shot after playing incredible, being unreal. And yeah, that is my number 2 moment of the NBA playoffs. Number 3 moment of the NBA playoffs. My number 2 moment of the year has got to be Mavs Suns Game 7. I mean, let me paint the picture for you. I am in Cincinnati. My shows have been canceled. So I'm in Cincinnati, an extra day, just in a hotel room. And I'm like, I'm going to order food. I'm going to order Postmates, stay in my hotel room, watch the Game 7s. I got nothing to do. Game 7 Sunday, 2 Game 7s. Milwaukee, Boston, that ended up kind of being a boring Game 7. Boston was in control all the way. Didn't have fun. I was like, at least Suns Mavs is going to be awesome. And then when the Mavs started pulling away, I got so mad. I was like, oh, man, another game like this. And then when they got the lead to 40, I was like, I love this. I love seeing every second of that. What an unreal collapse. Just when you thought Chris Paul, there is zero way that Chris Paul would find a way to choke that he hasn't choked before. And oh my God. That was unbelievable. Luka laughing in their face as he's hitting shots at the free throw line. Devin Booker just disappearing. This was not a good playoff for the Kobe comparison. The Tatums and the Booker, not a good playoffs for them. So good. The Suns subreddit locking themselves at halftime because it's so embarrassing. Just unreal top level playoff moment. Top level. I was dying to see that Warriors Suns Western Conference Finals, and the Suns couldn't even make it there. I mean, what even happens with that? Does Ayton stay? I think Ayton should go to the Mavs, but does Ayton stay? Like, did that kill? Like, you know what that feels like? That feels like 28-3. When the Patriots came back from 28-3, it killed the Falcons. It killed them. They really have not been relevant since that season. And before that, the Falcons were a continual top-level playoff team in the NFC. They were in multiple NFC championship games. They had one in 2012, I remember, against the Niners. They were a top-level NFC playoff team. And they were done after that. And this feels like, oh, I think the Suns might be kill. It just feels like this was I think, just a shattering playoff loss. And I enjoyed every second of it. Eat it, Suns. Eat it. They were so cocky. Their fans were so cocky. And this is what you get. So that's my number 2. And then my number 1 playoff moment. You know it. It's gotta be the Golden State Warriors. My number 1 playoff moment of 2012 is the Warriors cementing their dynasty. It has to be. They're written off at the beginning of the playoffs. I think they had the worst odds at the beginning of the playoffs by Vegas to win. They really were counted out. And the entire time, I'd listen to people be like, I just don't think they have it. The narrative was the dynasty is dead, and now they won one. Steph cements his legacy. He has no one to answer to. And now the Warriors all of a sudden have this great championship window. Because now it's like, how long can Steph, Draymond, and Klay go together? And they have this young core, this Poole, Kuminga, Moody, Wiseman, Wiggins. They have this young core that, like, hey, if we develop, what can they do? Can they keep this dynasty going? Are they on some, like, Spurs stuff? And now all these players have championship experience. Even if they were just riding the bench, they have championship experience is huge. That's why I wanted to play the Celtics going into the finals, because I was like, if we play the Heat, this is a team that's depleted and knows how to win with plenty of championship experience. Everybody in the Heat has been there before, and Lowry and PJ Tucker have won one. PJ Tucker has played a lot of series against the Warriors. Like, that's, like, people were talking about how Boston was a bad matchup for us. We had Boston in the experience-wise. In the experience section. That's where we won this series. The Heat might have caused us problems. Hey, the Heat isn't turning the ball over 22 times in a must-win Game 6. They are not doing that. A young team with inexperience is doing that, but the Miami Heat would not have done that. But the Warriors cement their legacy, and now they have this team with championship experience. I do think Andrew Wiggins, I think they unlock something with him in these finals. I think Andrew Wiggins, when he comes back next year, is going to be playing on a whole different level. And we're going to see this sort of Steph-Wiggins combination where Klay is the third option and Draymond's the defensive anchor. We lose Otto Porter, I think. Hopefully we can retain GP2 with Jordan Poole. We'll keep Kuminga, Wiseman, Moody. It's time for them to step up as year 2s and years 3s. And this Warriors team could be good. And I think if they lose the final, then that level of damn, they couldn't do it without KD. They couldn't do it like they were just too old. I think that might have done something to them mentally, but now I think they're refreshed. I think they can pull a three-peat would be crazy, but I don't think it's out of the question. If anything, they're definitely you got to count them in as a top team going into next year. You have to. And Steph, we'll see if is Steph without, and because Steph has now nothing more to prove, no more burden, no nothing. There's nothing you could say about him. And does that free him up even more mentally to shoot even better, or is he just too old? We'll see. But I think we're about to see a new level of an unlocked version of Steph right now. I really do. I don't think the league really knows what's coming. But that just me. I am a Warriors homer. But I mean, to me that's the number one thing. It really was ended up being the storyline. Him crying is going to be an iconic shot. That 43-point game to win Game 4, that's where we won the series. Was unreal. Draymond stepped it up at the end, played 3 great games at the end. Klay's defense was unreal at the end. And while he didn't have the best offensive series, it remains to be seen. Is this just still rust, or is sort of Klay? Is the injuries to his leg, does that diminish his shooting skills? We'll see. But what was I gonna say? He made some timely shots in Game 5 when the Celtics went on that run in the third quarter to go up. Klay hit 2 big threes to kind of plug the bleeding before Jordan Poole performed his second fucking long-range 3 to end the third to give us the 1-point lead. Like, even when Klay wasn't feeling it offensively, he got some timely buckets to help keep him when we absolutely needed some form. The Game 3 we lost. The reason why we were able to climb back and take the lead was because of Klay. We were able to climb back in the third and take a 1-point lead because of Klay. We lost it. We can keep it up, but that's what I'm talking about. I think he was great. I mean, Porter hit some great threes in this closeout game. Whenever Jaylen Brown or Tatum hit a 3 in the second or third quarter, Porter would just answer right back to be like, no, you are not coming back. So it was just a great finals for a Warriors fan. And basketball in general. I think it's cool. I mean, it's great that like we saw another person enter the pantheon. Like, I don't know where you put like top 10 debate. I don't give a fuck. I mean, but like instead of a Mount Rushmore, a Mount Olympus. If there was a Mount Olympus of the best players ever to play the game, a pantheon, the Jordans, the LeBrons, the Kobes, the Shaqs, the Bill Russells, the Hakeems, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars. Steph is in the Mount Olympus of basketball. And that's what this last final cemented. And Oscar Robertson put him up there. Moses Malone put him up there. Steph is in that conversation. The Tim Duncans, he's there. And I mean, it's been a joy to watch. That you don't want to see us again next year line is now legendary. That's one of the coldest lines in the history of the sport. I mean, this was just a big win and a great playoffs. This was a great NBA playoffs. I'm glad you guys were here to talk it through with me. I'll see you when I have another idea for a video. When I have a thought to work out, or I have something like this. But if it else, I love you and see you soon. Bye.